I'm calling this part two. Part two doesn't sound as good, but it's still dealing with image. How I value myself, how I value you, or how we value each other in relationship, how we value in sexuality. Why this kind of image is so important. Don't go away. I'll be right back. Welcome to Vintage Wisdom. Come on in. Come on in. Vintage Wisdom is about age. It's about grapes. It's about when something is crushed, when it's of greatest value. They say wine is at its best, maybe when it's stressed out, or a year when it's a lot of volume. Whatever it is, it's about age, because we don't like to say we're getting too old. But as we get older, as we grow, we start realizing there are important places in our lives that help us to hopefully help others. So that's Vintage Wisdom. I'm Ed Montgomery. They call me Dr. Ed. Thank you so much for being with me. Hit the like button, hit the share button, the likes, the algorithms. I don't really like those algorithm things. I believe in them. I know they're there, but hit them, because every time you hit them, we reach more people. Now, I'm going to talk about image. I'm going to pick up where I left off last week. I left last week's Vintage Wisdom up, so that you can keep track. So this part two will actually make sense. So go back to part one and watch it, then watch part two. It'll make even more sense. All right. What we discovered is that if you are going to take somebody down, or if you want to make somebody feel bad about themselves so you can feel good about yourself, because there are people in this world who only can feel good about themselves when they make you feel bad about yourself, and when you're starting to see yourself as less than them. You say, well, I don't feel that way. I don't think nobody's going to make me feel that way. And that's good. But I promise you, that's the job that has been done, not only on Americans, but those not only in North America, but in Central America as well as South America. This is what religion has done. Christendom. I didn't say Christianity. I said Christendom. Christianity is the following of the teachings of Jesus Christ. Christendom is the religious system that keeps people interlocked in a certain space in Christendom, telling them they're in Christianity, so that they always stay low and subservient to people who have placed themselves in a position of what they consider to be of greater value, because they believe God made them or created them to be of greater value than you. People of color, people of other, quote, other, unquote. This is not just something they said, well, that's just being made up, that's racism, or racism is a social racism. Of course it is. Racism is it's not in the system. It is just a few bad apples. Oh no, baby, it's more than a few bad apples. I've sat down and talked to people of North America. I've talked to people in Mexico. I've talked to people in Central America. I've talked to people in South America. There are those in South America who believe that their ancestry is because of the curse of Cain. They were cursed by God. I just heard that this week from someone out of the Central and South Americans. I said, what do you mean cursed by God? They said, cursed by God. Yeah, that's what we were. And we need Jesus Christ to save our souls. And I said, what? Who told you that? And as the more I began to dig into it, I began to realize I've been teaching about image for over 45 years. And one of the teachings is that not that we all come from Adam and Eve, we all come from one blood, we're all one people. And people say, yeah. But do you know there is the belief out there that Europeans come from one set of Adam and Eve, but the other people come from another set of a Adam type and Eve type. Yeah, that's where Cain went after Cain killed his brother and he found him a wife. He found him a wife among the lower kind of people. This is the kind of history that has been taught, and not just taught last week or last month, last year or last century or last millennium. It's been happening for centuries and centuries. It came out of the early church, not the early church, but the church that became Christendom. When it came out of Catholicism, it was taught when England got a hold of it. And they had the Protestant Reformation, which dealt with Germany and the Protestant or protesters. And they protested against the English church. Well, they just didn't, they said, the Catholic Church, they didn't just say, we're protesting against the Catholic Church. What you're teaching is wrong, wrong, wrong. They didn't say what you're teaching about other people, black people, people of color, is wrong. They were protesting because of the money they were taking from certain people. That was the protest. So they shipped this Protestant kind of religion. It was not just Lutheran, but Calvinistic. Calvin religion came with the Puritans all the way across the water. Came across the water. And when it came across the water, it got to the America and got to the indigenous people. We dealt with that last week. Not only that, when enslaved people were brought out of Africa, they taught this type of Christianity to them. And what they taught was that Jesus was up in the sky. You were down here on the earth. Of course, he cared about us as who we are because he entrusted us with the gospel. But he likes you too. And if you work hard enough, he will reward you one day in heaven. I got shoes, you got shoes. Old Gus Chuden got shoes. When I get to heaven, I'm going to put on my shoes and going to walk on the streets of gold. Well, I don't need no streets of gold. I don't need a mansion in the sky. There's enough of us got streets of gold, and man, we got gold around our neck. We got mansions in the sky. We got a lot of different things. We don't need to get to heaven to put on shoes because we got shoes. They didn't have shoes back then. And so we were taught that God was distant from us. But because when you're in charge and you're the valuable person, then of course they're closer to God than you are. That's Christendom. That came directly out of the early Catholic Church. I'm not being mean to anybody's church. I'm just talking some history. And the Catholic Church did not just spread this kind of gospel. England not just spread this kind of gospel in North America. They spreaded it all the way through the Caribbean, through all of the islands. The indigenous people of those places were taught this. Now, you say, well, so what? You know, they got a God to pray to. You can pray to Jesus and everything. It's fine until one day you finally show a picture of Jesus. And Jesus is now of a different color than you. Michelangelo creates Jesus on the Sistine Chapel. Jesus creates the statue of David. Jesus. Wow. The first caricature of a painting, an oil painting that was shipped to Europe, was of a black ruler with oversized genitals. Sexuality, hypersexuality. The women are of hypersexuality. The men are of hypersexuality. You think we haven't heard it all throughout the enslaved period? Hide your women because they want your women. And don't let your women get near the men. They were marrying. When enslavement first began, when African slaves were first hitting America, They were marrying each other. And when they had children, they didn't know whether the children would remain and would be slave or free. They had to change the laws to where the mother dictated the status of the child. Until finally, all the religion was about one day getting to heaven and going to see Jesus. Hey, I ain't got no problem with going to see Jesus. The only thing is, what if, image-wise, Jesus lived inside of you? What if Jesus lived inside of me? What if God was experiencing life through our eyes as we are through his eyes? Goodness gracious alive, my God from Zion. This is why. I'm getting ready to tell you something. Hit your like button. Hit your like button. Here. Get on board. Let me know you're there. Okay, I remember it. I'm not going to forget it. Share this with somebody. Let them know that this is good. Here it is. If Christ is in you, then your value is not asking for rights. You already have them. You don't have to beg for more. The question is, why are people making it harder for you to receive what's already yours? Now you're beginning to understand. There are people in this country who believe that this country belongs to them and everybody else has just been tagging along. And the lie has been told that they are the originators of the country, forgotten all about the indigenous people that were here before anybody got here. And if you want to change the first thing, you got to change how people think religiously. Well, everybody doesn't believe in religion. Everybody doesn't believe in Jesus. Everybody don't believe in God. Back then, that was law, baby. Back then, you didn't go around telling folk you didn't believe in Jesus or believe in God. You may not have been, but that's what you did. Harvard University was based on that belief. Yale, your earliest scholar, William and Mary, these were based on these beliefs. Look, I'm determined vintage wisdom is about sharing what's going on at this stage of our lives. Like I've said before, I've done this for over 40 years. I've watched people get saved and unsaved, come to Jesus and leave Jesus, come to church, stop going to church. No stability or anything. And I began to ask myself the question, if Christ is who he is, where is the stability? Where is the stability that no matter where we go, that keeps that relationship going? When you have value for yourself, you have value in your relationship with other people. When you have value, when you see yourself of equal value, not equal with somebody else where you got to think I'm equal, it's just instinctively there. When God is interwoven into every aspect of your being, when God is interwoven in your DNA, your RNA, when God is interwoven in everything, you just see yourself differently. If you don't have any money, you're still prosperous. If you're dealing with a sickness, you're still healed, you still go on with life because you believe there's much life to hold on to. See, that's the kind of church you got to build now. Yeah, I know a lot of old school, they still hanging on to the old. Well, I don't know about all that new. And then you got a lot of young, people coming up, they're preaching and teaching. And I love it. There needs to be young ministers, and we got a lot of people that are following. Well, we need a young minister. Yeah. But a lot of them are preaching and teaching from their hurt and now, trying to be like everybody else and preaching from some of their own insecurities and their unforgiveness and saying, come on, I know how you feel. But we got to step it up to another level. There is a supernatural aspect to God, a supernatural space, a supernatural place, a supernatural understanding in our minds that can take us beyond. It can take us into areas of health, healing, prosperity, beyond all of this. And my time is up. Look, take your moment. Go to myalc.org. Hit, smash, crash that donate button. Don't let it go. Because the more you're able to do this, the more we can keep bringing these things to you. You say, well, the internet is free. Hey, are you that naive? Believe me, in order to reach more people, you got to do more things. Let me know that you're there. Hit me some comments. Let me know where you're from, where you're watching from. I'm curious. I want to know. My time up. I feel that it's time to go. Bye. Thank you so much for everything that you do and for being a part of what we do. Really, you are the most important piece to this puzzle. And yeah, it is a puzzle. And when you begin a puzzle, you don't always know what it's going to be or what the picture is unless you look on the box. But once you put all the pieces together, you start getting an idea of what it's about. And what it's about is expanding compassion and love in our community. But first of all, you got to expand that compassion and love within yourself. If you don't love yourself and have compassion for yourself, come on. It's not going to work. But you are one of the most loving, compassionate people that you know. Right. You know who you are. And this is what we try to do each and every week when we connect with one another. I'm going to ask you to do something. This is the moment that we ask you to give. Not to give merely because you ought to just give something. But giving is a part of receiving. It's like a figure 8. It's like going around a track. As you give, it comes back to you. But it comes back to you in more than what you give. It comes back to you in ways that people treat you, how people look at you, how people feel about you. You'd be surprised how things come back to you. Blessings and miracles, we use those terms. How they come back to you. Here's what you can do. Take a moment and you can use your text to give. That number's on your screen. It's 713-742-2035. That's text to give. I think I got it right, yeah. Or you can go to myalc.org. That's myalc.org. That's our website. And you can use that to give. But whatever one you use, make sure you do it. Don't wait. Do it now while you're thinking about it. Don't be like me, because I forget sometimes, but no. Do it while you're thinking about it and get it done. And remember that when you do this and you give of yourself, you're giving of your spirit. And you know how big your spirit is? I told you how much love and compassion is in you. Listen, can you imagine all that coming back to you? I can. It's going to be huge. Thank you so much. Hey, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Hit that subscribe button. Smash it, crash it.